The more stages, the more steps I take, the better my picture will be, because I direct my thoughts to each stage and what each stage accomplishes. Yes, today I'm going to paint a portrait. My favorite subject, actually. Let me introduce you to my model. Isn't she cute? She's very old. Her heel is coming off of her little shoe, and she looks as though she's been stored away. So why don't I show you how I did this little dolly and talk about how I'm doing it as though I were doing a person. There isn't a picture alive that hasn't been started with a composition. And so the composition in portraiture is usually the way you work with the actual model and put that person in a position that seems advantageous. And I've already done that. I have her on the shelf, and now my compositional problem is to place her in a way that is going to project that feeling of, well, I'm not used anymore. So I've decided that I'm going to put her top of her head here, and she's going to sit on the shelf here. I want to actually show the shelf, so I'm going to leave some room for that. I'm actually going to show the fact that this is also part of the shelf. This is a little construction, and maybe I can actually show that this is the corner. And so I've got to kind of fit her into that space element. And so I have the problem always of getting in the drawing. And I'm sure you're going to see what I'm going to do to get the drawing right, or as relatively right as can. I'm going to measure her head and see how many heads she is high. Well, she's a head and another head and a little left over. So down to here, it's a head and another head and a little bit more. Her head's going to take up that much space. And her little body is here. And her arm comes down this way. And her costume is that way. And her little skirt comes out like that. And this leg shoots out this way, and this leg shoots out that way. And I feel as though this situates her on the canvas in a way that she looks as though she enjoys being on this canvas. She doesn't look as though she's falling off of it. She doesn't look as though she's rising out of it. She's been adjusted to the, and there's a cast shadow behind her, which I think would help out, would make a interesting addition. When I'm working from a model, I think very carefully about how I'm going to organize the tones of the background to help present the model in an advantageous way. And so in this particular case, this cast shadow, I think, is very important. I think it's just going to help her look shelved, which is not very nice of me, but that happens to be her characteristic. I don't think that this is the happiest of little dolls. Again, I'm doing this in acrylic, and I'm going to do it very fast because I want a lot of time to show you how I'm going to work out the little girl. Because I want to talk about her flesh color. Everybody's worried about the color of flesh. Well, I have to paint her flesh. She has a certain kind of flesh. It has to look like Dolly flesh. Yet it's the same color as alive flesh. So it's a matter of observing it carefully. These cute little shoes. And so that gets me started, and the cast shadow underneath. Now, let's go back to the basics. And there's nothing more basic than knowing all about light and dark. I've put darks wherever the light can't strike. I've left the canvas white where the light is striking. If you don't look for the lights and darks and just see the Dolly, you've almost looking at her in a way that she'll be impossible to paint. But looking at the lights and darks of her makes the painting process possible, because I make my paint do to the canvas what the light does to the subject. Hallelujah. All right? That's as much as I'm going to do with the underpainting, to show you that I always start a portrait by placing the model on the canvas in such a way it suggests a mood.